Welcome to another episode of Colorful Conversations with Connie
and Corey.
We'd like to welcome you to another episode. And this episode, I'm heated, like you were heated the other day.
Make it rain.
Oh my God. So the other day, Connie, my neighbor's electricity went out, right? And she's 90, everybody. And we were freaking out. Nobody else had lights out or anything. So we called maintenance. They you got to call Con Edison. So I sat from 2:30 on helping this, my neighbor because she doesn't have technology. She's 90. She doesn't have email. So I was trying to help. And so they said, no, she paid her bill. It's not us, Con Edison. So then I'm talking to management and they were like, we checked. It's not us. You got to call Con Edison. I'm arguing with the management or the maintenance guys, and what I was so frustrated about is ageism. They really weren't caring about, they had no empathy, about a senior citizen in need. And I just felt so angry because you can't treat people like that, especially senior citizens.
What's that? But you have to stop to think. Then my main question is, was it just her apartment?
Yes, it was just her apartment.
Okay, so that was definitely on part of the building. The building. And you have to also realize, a lot of people don't know what building we're speaking of, and I don't know if we
Lenox
can speak of it, but it's Lenox Terrace development owned by the Allneck organization. We have gotten such a lack of services, let's just say not lack, decreased of services. If you walk into many of the 6 buildings that runs from 132nd Street to 135th Street, you can get sick. The rugs are filthy. Some buildings have smells on them. Nothing has been corrected. And once again, let's not blame everything on the pandemic.
Exactly. I mean, but I feel like this is happening across the board, just not even our building. I think it's across all New York. Every time I look at the news, I hear people whose rents are just going up $200-300 because they're not in rent stabilized buildings and stuff. So, I mean, my thing is we really have to care about each other, our neighborhoods, our community, but I was just so frustrated going back to my neighbor. It's just the management didn't really care.
No, that's what it is. It's the management. The fact that you care is very important, but the management does not care. And as a community that we really are, because it's these 6 big buildings, we are the ones who have to come together and do something about it. We're just letting it go. All the maintenance men, porters, doormen that we had for many years, yes, some have retired, so we've lost a lot of good workers. But now we're under new management. And apparently this management is just hiring people, her family members. Let's just say it's nepotism. These people don't seem to be qualified. They don't speak our language. And since they don't, or they don't want to, let's just say that. So that's why, another reason why they may have treated this elderly lady like that. She wasn't even able to communicate with them because you said the guy said he doesn't speak English.
Well, he was just talking in at a broken English, which I don't
That's not
believe
acceptable.
Because he's spoken to me in the past in a normal voice.
They always do that when they don't want to do something.
Well, that's what I felt with this situation with an elderly person, and I just feel like even where people are living alone, what do they do in these situations?
You have to call the proper agencies. Like there's an agency, what is it, the home, HRs, home, what is it, the development, housing, protection, all that you can call. They have applications that you can get, and you fill them out. And if we can, maybe we can put it at the end of the segment. We can,
I mean, because a lot of people in New York and I guess around the world are having this problem because, yes, some of it is part of the pandemic. There were people not paying rent and stuff, but I just feel like people have to still care about their neighbors. They have to care about the neighborhoods they live in.
That's the first thing.
And
which you did, which is the first thing.
Yeah, but
you did the initial thing that needs to be done. And now you know you have to move forward to file complaints because it can only get worse.
Yeah, and I just got scared, just even for myself being a single man, just getting older, and if I don't have a companion, although I'm lucky I have a best friend, you know, it's scary to be of a certain age and not have an advocate.
You know, someone to stand up for you, which is true. But like I said, we really have to do something about what's going on in this 6-building community.
Right, I mean, definitely.
We have no maintenance, we have no porters that we can relate to. When they speak their own language. When they come into your house on the walkie-talkie, they speak their own language. We have never had this before, and I've been here a very long time. I mean, I'm not ashamed to say, but a very long time. I was the only child in one building when they opened. Right. So I know that this is not acceptable. It's not acceptable because you can't hire people because of your cousins, your brothers, your neighbors, your friends, or the fact that you're fraternizing with one of the, you know, upper muckers. You can't do that. I call them upper muckers. Figure that out. We can't do that. That's not acceptable.
Right. I mean, I definitely agree that there has to be some type of changes. You know, where we live, it was built in 1958. It was one of the first.
Thanks a lot.
African American. Oh, sorry.
Doorman building.
Doorman building. First luxury building for African Americans in New York at one time, and it seems to be losing that culture. And I think that's the scary part for even our elderly residents, just like Miss Clara, who is my neighbor. She's lived here all her life.
And there's nothing wrong with, please don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with diversity. Everyone is welcome. We can be one big community, but we can't be a community that is just for people who are talking their language and they don't understand us. So that's a clash. Nothing's going to get done. We usually have 24-hour maintenance. What is happening now is that the person who may be on call for the 24-hour maintenance is not responding to any calls. So if McClara has a situation at 1 a.m. in the morning, and we always had someone that will go, this individual is not moving. They're not going.
Who in the studio did not turn their phone off?
Oh, no. Sorry. I don't know who it is.
I was like, who's in the studio with their phone off?
Sorry. We'll take care of that. So I'm just saying, it's, you know, all jokes aside, it really is something these are standards that we are accustomed to. We shouldn't lose them. It should only get better and not get worse. And once again, and a lot of these people who are like Miss Clara have been here for years. We're talking 60 years or more. And why should they just be pushed out or left to drop dead because they
right? And that's where my heartfelt frustration was, and you know, just as kind of talking about ageism is because you know of the situation that I had, it just sparked my frustration and just made it more aware to me that people like her at certain ages need people like younger advocates. You know,
we all need each other. That's what it is.
We need each other. I mean, and as we were talking that we have frustrations in our own building,
exactly.
Lenox Terrace, and that the care and it's not being kept up like it should be. But I know that
it's lack of services.
But I've been you know, like I said, looking at news, it's happening to a lot of people. And I would say, and then they're demanding these high rents. It's frustrating. And then to see an elderly person be so disregarded by a place that she's paid her money to live.
Yeah.
She was proud, because when I speak to her, she was so proud about what Lenox Terrace represented.
Listen, I know, and let me say this too. If anyone ever had any looking at the websites of Lenox Terrace, many years ago, they came to me as an older tenant and asked me to speak. You know, they did some kind of documents, and I did. And I told them that I looked forward to improvement. But now, I feel like a fool, a hypocrite. The improvement that I spoke of or that I was welcoming, I don't see. All I see is we digress. I mean, things are really bad. Anytime you cannot communicate with your staff because they don't speak your language, anytime because they're hired by family members, they feel like they can't get fired. So they don't do anything. They sit around, they talk. If you go down to where the men are in the basement in the buildings, they're just communicating with each other in their own language.
Right.
Not doing anything. Our rugs are stinking once again.
Yeah.
So back in the day, the men that we had working here worked. We got things done. Because this general manager is allowed to do this hiring of her own, it's not good.
Right, but again,
it's not good. And someone above her, the property manager or the VP, is allowing this.
Yeah, but we're trying to tell our viewers they don't live here.
No, they don't. Yeah, so we're just saying this is what's happening here.
Right.
And
but
if it's happening in your community,
right,
same thing.
Right. They need to speak up. I mean, in general, we're having our own struggles, but like I was sharing with Connie, it's happening across all communities, from the rent increases to just slumlords and just people not really taking care of their developments.
And you can go to the Housing Preservation, Community Renewal, all those boards. They're there and they can help you. Once you file a complaint, believe me, they're going to investigate it.
Yeah.
And if they find that there's a problem, they will find.
Right.
It may take a while, but you got to stay on it. And
right.
Any of you people, you conversational ones, you colorful ones, please, if you find that you're having the same problem, do something about it.
Right, because it takes, I guess what we're bringing up is our own individual, although you don't live in our building, we have our own issues going on here that you might be having. And you're not alone, but it takes all of our communities, all of us as one, to really make a stand and say, look, this is not acceptable. And in addition, as we segue back to the ageism part, I mean, for those that, sometimes we live next to people that we don't, because we live in these high rises and stuff, people don't know their neighbors.
Right.
And I feel like you should try to know your neighbor, especially if they're elderly. Because a lot of them, if they're, as my neighbor is in her 90s, she doesn't have a lot of loved ones that she shares with me constantly. A lot of them are deceased and they're no longer around. And she doesn't really have a lot of family. She's very blessed to be 90. But when you look around, she doesn't have a lot of people.
And that tends to happen.
And so, we take for granted because we're active, we're able to speak up for ourselves,
right.
But certain people aren't, and we need to just take note and stand up. And then just, if you are living in an environment where you're unhappy, like we are having certain situations in our building where they're not, the upkeep, the doorman are not as savvy as they used to be, then you need to do something about it. Don't lay there and live somewhere. And if you like your neighborhood, it's sometimes frustrating if it's a building that you love, but they're not upkeep, that you have to leave. I mean, obviously you could go.
But see, that's the whole thing. A lot of people don't have any place to go.
That's
true. They just can't leave. And you reach a certain age where moving is out of the question.
Right,
wherever you move to will be the upper room. That'll be it. That'll be your next home. Lord forgive me, and all of us too, it'll be the upper room.
That's right.
So, you don't want to.
Right.
And it's not fair. You should be able to stay where you are. You're paying your bills, paying for your services. You should be able to get that.
You should.
Shouldn't it ever be we're in a whole new age. This is 2022.
You should have a good quality of life, as I would say. I mean, so as we wrap up, we want to say thank you again for tuning in to another episode of Colorful Conversations with Connie and Corey. We remember to like, subscribe, comment, share. We've been noticing that a lot of you have been posting comments on our YouTube page, and we really, really appreciate it. We will try our best to respond. But if you have topic ideas, if you want Connie and I to talk about something, if you even want to sponsor us, you can email us. And the email should be going across the screen right now. But anyway, we want you to have a great day. Thank you for tuning in. And remember, our motto is live color free.